Well, how about now? Can you hear me now? If not, I don't know what to do. I did check a different box the first time around. Can you hear me though? Can someone please say yes or no? We can hear you, and try to be accurate. Oh boy. Okay. And I got to click this up here and go there. And yeah, no, it's strange because I thought the setting was the exact same setting I used last week, but apparently it wasn't. So I know what it is now. I know what it is now. But anyway, I mentioned I got the new computer last week, so I had a whole new setup last week, and I think we're good to go. So I was saying, which I unless you're really good at lip reading, we have about 13 degrees right now here in Michigan, but it was I don't know, 17 degrees below zero night before last, and then it stayed below zero all day, all day. So right now it feels like a warm spell, but we got snow falling and quite a bit of it. They're saying we could get 4 inches today, but I've seen conflicting reports, so we'll see. I got a snowblower, so I'll go out probably and push it around a little later on. But Steve GB1111, love you, Steve. My name is Steve too. Okay, there you go. Retired Butcher Boys checking from Lincoln, California. Davey Mellis, welcome back. That's good to be back. Matthew Murray, Mac or Windows. I'm using a Windows machine. It's a brand new machine. It's literally a week and a half old. Steve GB 111. Steve, I said I love you. Yeah, I love you, Steve. My name is Steve too. Oh, okay. Well, I love you too. Obviously, if you're here, I love everybody who's here. People who aren't here are clearly missing out. So, Codemeister Beats has got snow in North Carolina. Hoping the freezing rain isn't terrible as I don't have much propane. I got friends in the Carolinas. I got a friend in North Carolina, one in South Carolina. In fact, I got a couple in North Carolina. And I understand that it's not like heavy snow, but it's cold and icy. And that's where you can get trouble is if you get iciness on like power lines and you can lose power. So there you go. NZ, Kiwi NZ, good morning from New Zealand. Checking in from Monday. I appreciate that. I am McNathan. Hello, everyone from Sun City, Central Florida. Raymond Grotte is checking in 27 degrees below zero in North Dakota, below zero for the rest of the day. Yeah, 27 below. That hurts. Viper Mike's stuck in a hotel watching the snowfall. No Viper driving today. I can't imagine driving a Viper in the snow. In fact, if it gets a little bit too deep, it very well could be that the air dam would be plowing it like a snowplow or like a cow catcher on the front of a train. So William Harrell, South Carolina has a dusting of snow. Okay. Richard Terhune put everything on hold just so I could watch. There you go. And Duncan Campbell, good morning, Steve, from Melbourne, Australia. If you want a warm weather on Tuesday, it's expected to be 111 F. 111 F. It's been a while since I've seen triple digits. It's been a while. But there you go. CBB is checking from Cedar Park, Texas. Glad to reconnect. I'm glad you're here, my friend. I always like to see new names in the chat. Mario Bosniak, Steve. Just in case you read this, YouTube is showing me you have two streams going at the same time. First one doesn't seem to have any audio. Well, yeah, and hang on a second. This is going to take some. Let's see here. I gotta make sure I delete the correct one. Go there. And I don't know how to delete a video. Oh, I can do this. I can do that for now. Oh, I got it. Hopefully I didn't just delete this one. We'll see. Oh, Neurocash says the first stream has in fact ended. Well, it should have ended. It showed only as being a minute and 4 seconds long. But I deleted it so no one gets confused. Although trying to end confusion on the internet is kind of like saying I'm going to go outside with a shovel and shovel the tide back on the ocean. Miko Angel QW. Oh my God, Steve. Hi, Steve. Mario Bosniak says, yes, you deleted the one without audio. I hope so. Thank you. Dr. Rick is confused. No reason to be. Fatty Butter Pants. I have a weak stream, but it happens at my age. Yeah, Vinny Sluga sent me a note this morning, said, sadly, you have to put the dog to sleep. And I apologize. I'm so sorry about that. I really am. I've been through that several times. It's never easy. Unfortunately, if you're doing the right thing, it doesn't make it any easier, but you have to just override your emotions by saying, but we're doing the right thing. So Mike Gibbons says the new speed camera in construction zone law is giving me flashbacks to the we'll never pull you over for it. It will always be $25 seatbelt law when it first went into effect. Yeah, of course. They get their toe in the door, and then pretty soon there's like, well, we've got squatters' rights. Our foot's been here so long. And so in Michigan, they're going to put speed cameras, but only in construction zones. And they'll only operate when there's construction workers present. No, we know that's not going to be the case. So Richard Burke says, I'm here again because I'm stuck inside with the snowfall outside. Up Sideways says, enjoy your videos, Wilmington, North Carolina. Mexican Spec, good morning, Steve. Hey, Mexican Spec, I checked out your channel the other day, and I saw a car that you had. It was an early 70s Mopar of some sort, like a Duster, but it may have had a different name. Very, very nice condition, kind of a wacky car, but it was pretty cool. Pretty cool. So there you go. Chris Stope says, I'm from Eau Claire, Wisconsin. Went there to escape the Cincinnati weather. Robert Torrey's in the house. And Believe in Yourself is checking in from Napanee, Ontario. Napanee, Ontario. John Montana says, does dealer warranty, used vehicle warranty, trump as is if there is a major issue? It can in some states if that warranty is in writing and defined. But quite often I've seen them say that, no, we got a dealer warranty, but we don't put that in writing. Just bring it back if you have a problem with it. So Mexican Spec, do you mean the 1975 baby blue Super B? Is that the same body as a Duster or a Volare? If so, yes, because that's the right time frame, and it was blue. I just forgot that it was called a Super B, but I've never cared for that name that Dodge uses, calling vehicles Super Bs, because they also had a Super Bird. I understand it's a B body and all that. At least it was originally. But Emmanuel G, have you been to the Highland House lately? Not for about 3 weeks, but I probably make it out there. I'm guessing between probably close to a dozen times a year, on average about once a month. So, and I've been doing that for a long time. Yeah, Mexican Spec, it's the same body as the Duster. Yeah, and I forgot, did they have a small engine? Was that like a 318 or something, or was it a slant 6? Although in that car, it's not like you're going to get a Hemi. User UF9HR5JMC2C, alive in Corpus Christi. John Nowak, thanks for checking in. Padre says Dodge wanted to teach everyone about the birds and the bees. Dan Boyd, maybe it was a Superb E. I always thought it'd be cool to get that license plate, SUPERB, and put it on a Superbird. And people go, is that Super B? No, you go, it's a Superb. User says we want 4-cylinder pickup trucks back. When I say we, I mean I. But no, a lot of people would like to have cheap vehicles, and a cheap way of doing it would be a pickup truck. Just strip it and sell it really, really stripped. Oh, Mexican Spec was a 360 with a 4-speed. Only way to get a V8 in that car. Okay. Yeah, a little unusual for 4-speed that late. But Bozo Bones, if Michigan law explicitly grants a manufacturer 4 chances to fail, did you buy a vehicle or just a very expensive rough draft? Well, consider the states where they only get 3 chances. But the manufacturer often doesn't know about the problems until they get the last chance letter. It's often the dealerships who are dropping the ball. So, Old Paint says it could have been a 318 or a 360, according to Wikipedia. But we're also talking about, I believe, a Mexican spec car. That is a car being sold in Mexico, built for the Mexican market. P. Wyskowski, any relation to Bobby the Brain Heenan? No, but I've been told I look like him. I've also been told I look like Johnny Rotten. Oh. Izzy Busy says, waiting for my interview for MSP. The Michigan State Police passed all my entry exams. Congratulations and good luck. I've known some troopers personally. So, Alan, 1988, have you ever thought about having a co-host? Yes, no. I mean, it adds a complication. And I've seen some shows with co-hosts, unless you're talking about just a live stream. I'm not even sure how to do that. But when it comes to my shows over there, the ones I do on the week, on my main channel for the actual shows, I've had guests on, and the guest shows never do well. So there you go. BT 2280. Maybe the robot lady can co-host. Yeah. So she if she's available, she often works on Sundays. Dr. Rick, so if you buy 4 of the same cars, one will be perfect. Well, no one's saying that they all have 4 problems. Mexican Spec says he is right, Steve. The 1970 and 74 Super B had the 318 and the 1975 76 had the 360, but we never had the 340. Okay. James Chamelik, I was told you look like Jack Black. Unless it's somebody named Hack Black. I'm not familiar with Hack Black. Darkwood says some YouTubers have their spouse as a co-host. Wouldn't I need to get a spouse first? Tim Nossum, Johnny Rotten, maybe, but not recent or the Sex Pistols era. Like what, in the middle era? He's still performing. Oh, Dan Boyd, CRL is probably inundated in snow if she's in Canada. Yes, and she's in an area that gets a lot of cold and a lot of snow. 858 Bill, do a variety show with Heather and Ed Bolian. Ed's a great guy. I've obviously been on his channel a bunch of times. Then he let me interview him in his studio for my channel, and I put that video up on my channel a couple months back. And he's a great guy. Stuff Writer, hello, Steve from Snowy, Maryland. Stuff Writer, thank you for all the stuff you send me, my friend. Arts 4014, the Happy Fun Ball reference. Do not taunt Happy Fun Ball. Jawad Minas, are there really a lot of low-flying owls in Michigan? I'm unaware of any low-flying owl problems in Michigan. The only place I saw the sign, which I actually did see a sign that said, beware of low-flying owls, was in Florida. Down in the Keys, I think. Pretty sure it was in the Keys. But Mexican Spec, Ed seems to be very busy. Yeah, he keeps himself busy. I'm getting random comments from people saying, oh, I'm frozen and they have no sound. And then other people are talking as if nothing's happening. So I don't know what to tell you. Uh, Arita Noose. I could be mispronouncing that. I'm reading it backwards to see if that's it. No, I don't think I've ever heard what got you into law originally. I've always been fascinated by law, and I've also been fascinated by cars, and I've also been fascinated by consumer protection issues. And a dear friend of mine named John Cedor was in law school, and I was not. And he said, "Why aren't you in law school?" I said, "Why would I be?" He said, "I think you'd do well, and you'd make a good attorney." I said, "Really?" Hadn't even thought of that. I go, "What would I have to do?" And he explained it to me. I'm like, "Well, wait. It's that easy?" It's a little harder than that, but so I then went to law school. And it was just simply something like I said, I've always enjoyed legal issues and cars and stuff, so it worked out. Scott Summers, I was kidding on the first attempt that you were freezing. Well, see, now I don't know if you're kidding, and so I actually, when people tell me that I'm locked up again, I'm thinking about pulling the plug and just giving up. So I'd prefer that you not joke about having no sound or having no camera, because I mean, it's hard enough for you to tell when people are joking normally. So, Stuff Writer, I went to SCOTUS on Tuesday, and that was fascinating. Then I went to the local circuit court and sat in on motions and pleas. So, here's a question. I think you told us last week that you were going to do that. Did you have any kind of guarantee you'd get in, or did you have to stand in line? 'Cause I've always heard that you can get in, but you got to stand in line, and they don't have like reserved tickets for just the gallery. Obviously, if you're an attorney on the case or a party, you can get in, but that's pretty much it. Fast Eddie, are you retired? No, no. I gotta work for a living. James Thompson. So why did you become a YouTube star? I'm not really a YouTube star in that sense. I don't think so. But I look at people like Ed Boley and go, he's a star. But I get recognized in public now, which is kind of weird. But I worked in radio before I went to law school. And when I got out of law school and became an attorney, I started. I was a talk show host at a couple different stations, and I when I wasn't on the air, I missed it. So I started doing podcasts, and they were audio only podcasts. I started doing those, and I started getting followers from my podcast. And then one of my friends said, "Hey, why don't you put those on YouTube?" And I'm like, "Why would anybody want to watch me talk?" He goes, "Just try it and watch what happens." And it turns out it worked out. It was successful. So I'll take it. So Stuff Writer says, yes, to go see the SCOTUS arguments, you need to enter a lottery through a federal website for free. If you're chosen, you get a dedicated ticket for a particular case. Oh, that's different than what I remember from the old days. In the old days, you stood in line, and it's just you got there early. But it makes more sense to do that, especially when you travel to DC. You don't want to travel to DC and find out there's 9,000 people ahead of you. But I've never watched SCOTUS arguments live. I've listened to the audio of them that they've released later, but Boomer6129, Steve is a top tier YouTube content creator. Top tier in quality or in numbers? Because I'm not there in numbers. I need to get. I think there's a level where you hit 1 million subscribers. I think is top tier. I'm nowhere near that. It's gonna be a long time before I get there. Tim Nossum, your tribute to your brother and Vin Wiki was my favorite so far. Very touching. Well, thank you. And it's one of my favorite stories because I talked about my car, the first car I bought with my own money, my '69 Dodge Charger. My brother helped me with that car. And I had, when I was growing up, 5 older brothers. And my brother Dave, I was very close to because he and I shared a room for many years. Ask me which one is Dave. If they didn't know my family, I would say he's the one who helped me with my car because that's the story that I told many people, that I had this really cool car in high school, and that was only possible because of him. Only possible because of him. So I told the story on Vin Wiki. I also told it on my backup channel back in, I think, April or May of last year. He passed away on April 4th. I misspoke in the video, Ed Boley, and I said that We got the phone call in the third at one point, but he passed in the third. We got the phone call in the fourth, but it's minor. But these kinds of things bother me. So, overkill pinball. Hi, Steve. I too am cold. Boomer, first one, Steve. Quality over quantity. Thank you. I'd rather put out one good video that's got 10 viewers than 100 lousy videos that get a ton of viewers, because eventually I think it all pans out in the end. 858 Bill, I think SCOTUS should have term limits. I tend to agree with you on that. There's no bright line answer on this, but if you look at the Constitution and the way our government is designed, there are term limits in the sense that you have to run for re-election every so often. House of Reps every 2 years, senators every 6 years, and then, of course, the president every 4 years. And the president is term limited by the amendment that says he can only run twice. And the House of Reps and the senators can just keep running over and over again. But in Michigan, they're term limited. But the federal judge, the federal judiciary, are terms for life. And on the one hand, I understand why they did that, because they're like, we want these people to not think of political ramifications. We just want them to do what's right. But of course, there's a downside, because they also realize I can do anything I want, and they can just go completely out there. And so I would like to see some kind of limit, but it may and you know, because I don't think they should be elected. I don't like the idea of electing federal judges either. We elect our judges in Michigan, and our Supreme Court, as noted, has ruled things such as like the lug nut case and so on. So that's what you can get the other way too. So NA RS 3ZB, I hope you're doing well. Dan Boyd got to ride in a Model T at Greenfield Village recently. Tom Holt, my sister, showed me some pictures from the Henry Ford Museum, and I'd love to visit there. It's one of the better museums in the country. It really is. It's amazing what they've got there. Look them up. They got a ton of automotive stuff, a ton of transportation stuff, and they got a ton of just mechanical stuff. Henry Ford had a fascination for all of that and began collecting it and putting it together. And it's a very, very cool museum. I've been there 2 or 3 times in the last 4 or 5 years, and you can spend an entire day there really easily. Blah, blah, blah. Is it really precedent if you can change it? And that, of course, is the concern, because generally speaking, precedent is supposed to mean something. On the other hand, there have been bad precedents, so the fact that there are cases that have been overturned by Supreme Court, there's no problem with that. But it's usually like 100 years later or something, But Jerry Dodge, check out the Air Museum here in Portage. You mean the Air Zoo? That's very cool also. Padre, I know someone with a running Model T. Very cool. Troy built the Gilmore, is another great museum for cars in the same area. Yeah, I've been to the Gilmore many, many times. Many times. The Gilmore for a long time had a turbine car on display on loan for the Detroit Historical Society. They've also got a Tucker. They've got a Stout Scarab. They got a bunch of really cool stuff there, and it's a really neat place. The grounds are amazing. Go there on a nice day and just walk around. It is so cool. Elliot Polach says nothing beats Ohio ruling that the popular cooking style known as boneless chicken wings may contain bones. I don't know. I put that right up there with the lug nut case. I really do. I'm. But yeah, they're real close. It's a race to the bottom, Jamie Restrepo. I've never been to Michigan. You recommend a good time frame and specific location to visit for a first timer. Unless you're into snowboarding or skiing, time frame, summer. Specific location depends. The Traverse City area is nice up there, or the Upper Peninsula is beautiful. The Keweenaw Peninsula, just for scenery and whatnot. But there's a lot of nice stuff to see. Devin Ruckus, what attraction museum have you been to that's the most overhyped? I'm not a big fan of the Renaissance Festival. There's a Renaissance Festival in Michigan up near Hawley, and I've been there. And I walk around and it's like, something. I don't get it. Stuff Writer, have you ever done a video on how the Michigan Consumer Protection Act was gutted? I'm pretty sure I have, probably a long time ago. Keep in mind, I've been doing videos here on YouTube now for 12 years. I think it's 12 years now. And I've covered a lot of ground. And in the back of my mind, I know I've covered things that touch on it. The lug nut case is a great example of how consumer protections are being taken away. But the lug nut case is under the Motor Vehicle Service and Repair Act. And the Consumer Protection Act case was a Smith versus Globe, an insurance case. And the case itself is so complicated. Dr. Rick, what's the lug nut case? There was a customer that brought their car into a dealership and said, I need you to rotate the tires. So they took the lug nuts off, took the wheels off, rotated the tires, put the wheels back on, put the lug nuts back on, and forgotten to tighten all the lug nuts. And as the car was leaving the dealership, a wheel came off, the car crashed, and they filed a lawsuit and said, you're negligent in not tightening the lug nuts. And the trial court, I believe, found in their favor. And the dealership appealed at the Court of Appeals in Michigan and said, well, the law says that they have to perform a job, and once they've started it, they've performed it. Even though the law also says they must complete the job, completely ignoring one half of the statute. And they appealed that to the Michigan Supreme Court, who declined to hear it. They declined to hear it. So. Darkwood, have you been to the Morel Mushroom Festival in Michigan? We got a lot of festivals in Michigan. I've never heard of that one. Where is it? I know Morel mushrooms are a big deal. I know people who go out hunting and they act like they've got like secret, like almost like they've got a claim that they go out and gold pan. They don't want people to know about it. I'm going to go out and look for Morels, but don't tell anybody, that kind of thing. Casey, Jimmy, curious how you ended up in law school in California when there are numerous good Michigan options. Numerous literally just means in the nature of numbers. No, I'm just joking. Michigan has one stellar law school, the University of Michigan. They wouldn't let me in. Michigan then has a couple other decent law schools. And I applied to them and got admitted or was accepted. And then I applied to where I went because they had a 2-year law program. So instead of doing 3 years in Michigan, I did 2 years in California. At the time, one of my brothers lived in California. So I thought, well, I'll take a 2-year break, go live in California, go to law school, have some fun, and come on back, which is what I did. Philip Crosby Jr., do they close the Mackinac Bridge with a blizzard warning? The Mackinac Bridge gets closed periodically, I guess 5 or 10 times a winter, but not for terribly long. But usually what happens is either the winds are so bad out in the Mackinac Straits, or there's so much icing on the cables that ice is falling on the bridge. I saw a photograph a week or two back about a car crossing a bridge. They got a chunk of ice about yay big right through their windshield, and it went through. And so that's a concern. Jamie Restrepo, your videos are excellent. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Dan Boyd, I once actually changed a broken wheel lug stud. I believe I hammered the old one out, hammered the new one in. Yeah, that's always the thing. I've seen those snap off. It's usually on an older car where some knucklehead used an impact wrench like he was trying to prove a point, and then busts it coming off. But I know that when you bust off a typical bolt, you can use an easy out, which is a misnomer. But you can use something like that, which will help you remove it. But wheel studs are a whole different thing. Robert Lee, I've had my lug nuts loose after servicing. I was upset about that. Tom Holt, so as a mechanic, I can just start a job and tell everyone there is precedent that I performed the job. Yes, in Michigan, yes. Darkwood says the Morel Festival is in Boyne City on Water Street. Okay. Well, Boyne City's up in this area here. Dan Boyd, don't semis get blown over on the Big Mac Bridge? I've never heard of a semi blowing over. I've heard of they'll actually put up signs saying, semis must drive below a certain speed, drive in the middle, blah, 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 blah. I mean, they're very concerned about that. I've never heard of one blowing over, though. Dan Boyd says wheel studs are pressed in. Okay. But even if something's pressed in and stuck and broken, wouldn't easy out drilling in there help get it out or something? I don't know. How else would you get it out? Or replace everything? Daniel Kester, I've seen semis blown over in Nebraska. I got a funny little story to tell you. So Jay Leno's turbine car was shipped back to California, and he took care of the shipping because he's got guys who do that. And when they're taking it back to California, Jay agreed to have his driver bring the car by Williams International's place they've got in Utah, I think it is. And so it's a couple day drive from Michigan to Utah. At least it's a pretty long drive. And this guy's driving a car hauler. It's got a bunch of cars in it, including Jay Leno's turbine car. And when he pulls into the parking lot, my brother was there in Utah, and the truck was just a mess. And the guy goes, "Oh, I drove through a snowstorm. I drove through there was like forest fires, all kinds of stuff." And my brother goes, "Wow, that's quite an adventure." And the guy goes, "Yeah." He goes, "I even stopped because I was so concerned about the wind." And he goes, "So I stopped and took a break." And then he goes, "I got up the next morning and finished the drive because he knew he'd be on time." And he goes, "I saw trucks blown over." And my brother said his first thought was, can you imagine if you're driving a truck with a bunch of cars in it, including cars that are worth a lot of money, and it tips over? It didn't, though. It didn't. James Madison, audits appreciate you immensely. Education is the best way to make us a stronger and better society. Dan Boyd says the easy out wouldn't work because there are no threads. Okay. I mean, could you drill it out, or are you telling me there's literally no hope for this thing? Robert Lee, it's 36 hours from California to Michigan, or vice versa if you don't stop. I've done it in 54 hours and stopped a couple times along the way, but yeah, Steve G, don't forget the left-handed threaded wheel studs on the driver's side of the old Dodge. I had those in my Charger. And you hope that people know that when they're servicing the vehicle before they put the impact wrench on it and really go to town. JP says they are pressed in. Some can be changed without removing the hub, but not all. And JP would know. M. Dawn, accurate education and not indoctrination or watered down or altogether changed history. I try. And you have no idea. People actually say, well, Steve, why didn't you cover this story? Why didn't you cover that story? That's too political. It's too this, it's too that. And there are stories out there that I cannot talk about because no one will think I'm doing a fair job of it. And so it's like, well, I'll stick with the ones that I think most people will agree with. And even so, I get people who think I'm an idiot. NARS3ZB, loved your video about the baseline and surveying. Yeah, I've talked about that a couple times. I find it fascinating. Douglas Houghton, who I wrote a book about, was a surveyor among his many occupations. And it's fascinating to hear about people who surveyed the state long before any of it was studied. Any of it was actually studied properly and laid out in such a way. So, Dan Boyd, I think 1971 was the last year for Chrysler using the backwards threads. That could be. I don't know. I don't know. Bob Blah Blah says there's an L stamped onto the end of the wheel stud on left-handed thread. Yes, you hope so. And you hope they see it. Oh, boy. 858 Bill, a question you may not be an expert on. If I'm named in a will, am I responsible for the inheritance tax if I refuse inheritance? Dumb guess. Why would you be responsible for an inheritance tax on something you didn't inherit? But better yet, isn't the inheritance tax something that doesn't kick into like $5 million? Like, you don't want the $5 million? Oh boy. Milan Yanka, could be Milan Janka, snowed in. Now I've got to watch this podcast. Devin Ruckus, I've probably replaced 100 wheel studs in my mechanic history. Wow. M. Dawn, you're not an idiot. Jack 6547, my storage unit is prepaid 2 years and is now under new ownership, and they want me to sign a new lease agreement. Do I have to? 2 points that you raised there. The first is, do they want to change the terms on you, or will they give you credit for the money you prepaid? And second of all, what's the difference between the two agreements? Because the first agreement might say, we, storage unit, have a contract with you, Jack. And the new people might simply want to change it to say, we, new owners, have a contract with Jack. But the old one probably also says we can assign this contract to somebody else. So it might be redundant, but a lot of places like to do something like that for bookkeeping type stuff. But the big question I'd have is, are they going to honor the old contract and the old prices? That's the biggest question I have. Steve GB 1111, what's your dream car? Unlimited money. I was watching Barrett Jackson last night, where every other car is a 63 split window Corvette. No, I'd probably go with a Dodge Charger Daytona 4-speed Hemi. Set you back about $1 million maybe for a good one. Robert Lee, I want a Hemi 68 Coronet. That's close. JP, how are the new tires in the snow? They are amazing. Thank you for asking. I think I mentioned that. Did I mention that last week, or did I get them this past week? I got a new set of tires on the Jeep. I think it may have been Monday. I think it was Monday. I literally was sitting around one afternoon about 4:00, and I thought, I should get some new tires in the Jeep, because I got the Jeep from JP, and it's got tires on it, but they're not great in the snow. So I raced over to a tire shop and I said, hey, can I get some tires for this? Sure. 45 minutes later, I'm driving out with a brand new set of Goodyears, and night and day. And, a Jeep is really, really light. It's 4-wheel drive, all that, but you still got to have decent tread. BT 2280. Did I just hear Steve say Michigan is the only top tier law school in the state? Even Michigan State University would agree with that. Michigan State University's law school is the former Detroit College of Law, and DCL is not in the same tier as the University of Michigan. University of Michigan is often ranked in the top 5 or 10 law schools in the nation, and I don't care if you're a Wolverine or a Spartan or a Hoosier. Michigan, their law school is absolutely better than Michigan State's. I will also tell you that Michigan State's got one of the best veterinarian schools in the country. And so sometimes these things happen. And so if you wanted to go to a good veterinarian school, you go to Michigan State. And that's the way it is. Daniel Kester says, when you bring up the subject of police, you get people complaining to you both that you hate and that you favor the police. Of course. I actually had someone point out a Facebook post about me, and it goes, "This Steve Lehto is a real a-hole because he's such a cop lover." But yeah, I'm a cop lover. Outdoor nature. I don't know what goes beyond that because it cut off. I appreciate your channel. Also, what you do to support the Institute for Justice. I've been watching you for a decade now. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I've been following the Institute for Justice now for about 5 or 6 years. I may have done stories that are previous to that, but I've noticed that the stories they do resonate very, very well. Not a lot of people contact me and go, "Steve, I disagree with the Institute for Justice." It happens once in a great while on one particular topic or another, but generally speaking, no. Jerry Dodge, I'd choose a Batmobile tumbler. My understanding is the studio that owns a bunch of those just sold a bunch, or at least they're up for sale right now. But I'm not sure. I never really cared for that one all that much. To me, that looked like a movie car. Like, let's make a really cool, a car that'll look cool in a movie, as opposed to let's get a cool car and put it in a movie. As far as Batmobiles go, the George Barris is always the best. I saw one of those cross the auction block at Barrett Jackson on Friday, and they didn't say who made it, but it looked a lot like the one made by Fiberglass Freaks and Mark Rakeup. I don't know for a fact if it was his or not. Went for a lot of money, too. Mexican Spec, you are a big YouTuber, Steve. You could drop $1 million on a car. Not just yet. Johnny Z, yeah, 63 split windows and old Broncos. Don't get me wrong. I love me an old Bronco, but I saw one go across the block for like $600,000 that had been, resto modded. I'm like, really? If it's a Bronco, I want to drive it off road. So, Evernight 7704. I've never seen a Lehto live. Cool. Lewis Browning, Barrett Jackson's got a 69 Daytona 440. I believe I watched that cross the block last night. At least I saw one cross the block. I also saw a Superbird with a 440 and it crossed the block for like 220. I'm like, oh my, I could almost afford that. Yeah, retired butcher boy. I've been watching the auction. Ian formed, how does UDM law compare to U of M law? If I know, of course I know. First of all, I taught at University of Detroit Mercy for 10 years. Okay. So I know. And the University of Michigan, I assure you, is a better school than the University of Detroit. And I'm just saying that because if you look up admission standards, for instance, and what the average person who gets into U of M has got, score-wise, grade-wise, all that, and then how many people apply and get in, trust me, U of M is still a slight bit better than UDM, okay? 4 running away. I think I list because of your great radio voice. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Johnny Z, I went to Barrett Jackson in 2016. Pretty cool. Kind of like a fair. Yeah, no, I'd love to go to one. I just haven't gone to one yet. I will one of these days. I got friends who go to them. My good friend Adam Lukachel, Mark Lieberman. These kind of guys go there and they buy and sell stuff all the time. In fact, a couple of years ago, Mark Lieberman had a Tucker automobile that he sold at, I believe it was Barrett Jackson. And he and Adam Lukachel drove it up onto the block. And I'm watching TV. I know those guys. Oh, boy. $858 Bill, if you like people doing ridiculous mods to vehicles, go to a SEMA. Well, I got a better one for you. Just simply watch a Mecum auction on like the first day where the cheap stuff is selling. Weird stuff. And be like, some guy took a 39 Willis and less crate motor into it. And then he lined the entire interior with shag carpeting, oh, by the way, it's front wheel drive. What? And you'll often see a custom car where one or two people go, "That's really cool." Occasionally, you see one where it's like nobody would think it's cool except the one guy who made it, I guess. Oh, Mark Miller's checking in from Aurora, Colorado, where it's 26F. Yeah, it's only 14 here, my friend. That's what's up. Elliot Polach, I didn't say that they want to lose cases because obviously everybody likes to win, but I'm simply pointing out that you do unfortunately have to lose to file an appeal. And if you win, your opponent might not file an appeal. So I can't remember which case, which video that was, but I do bring it up occasionally because I've seen people on YouTube who are saying, "I'm willing to take this to the Supreme Court." And they go to court and they lose and they get all bent out of shape. "Oh my God, I lost." Okay, good. Now file the appeal. That's how you get to the Supreme Court. You don't get there by winning. Oh, it's not me 07. He's late again. What's your excuse? I'll let the room decide. Sean M. Ever considered putting a plow on your Jeep? No. I tool around town in my Jeep. I take the doors off, take the roof off, and I putter around town in it. And I mean, I could, but I've got a snowblower. I've got a snowblower with like a 30 inch width to it, and I down and back, I'm done. So I'm not going to put a plow on my Jeep and leave it there all winter for the instead of doing the snowblower. Tim Nossum, do you know about Herbie Hancock's Cobra? He's got one of the longest running ownerships that we know of. He bought it new. Yes, I actually saw Jay Leno talking to him about that. For running away, are you an active lawyer? Yes, I am. Do you still take clients? In Michigan, lemon law, yes. Otherwise, no. And I still get the phone calls. Hi, Steve, I'm in Idaho, and I got a problem with the building department. And oh, Mark Miller, take off the doors? I don't understand the question. Doors come off of a Jeep very easily. Dan Boyd, Bill Cosby had a Cobra too. Is he the one who had a Cobra for a brief period of time and said this thing's dangerous? The great Quidjabo, I'm Mr. Plow. That's my name. That name again is Mr. Plow. Oh, Janice Ellery, you often have to do all the appeals to make case law. And the interesting thing is you climb the ladder, you'll find the people out there who will jump in to help you and go, "Oh, this guy's going to bring that case. We need one of those." But it depends. Johnny Z, I wonder what the auction would be on Herbie's Cobra. Well, I've seen Cobras cross the block at Meekum for and Barrett Jackson for millions of dollars. So a well-documented one with a famous ownership, I'm guessing millions. It depends on what condition it's in. I'm hoping it's got the original motor, that kind of thing. Never know. Long-legged. Happy Saturday, Steve. And to you, my friend. Of course, it's Sunday, but what the heck? Oh, boy. Oh, Mark Miller says, yeah, take him off today. No. The great Quidjabo. Yeah, Bill Cosby saying a car is dangerous might be kind of ironic. Have you driven a Cobra? Doug Jones put a message in your phone that says, if you're in Michigan, hold on the line. If you're not in Michigan, hang up. I've got the thing at end of every single video says, do not call my office about videos. Guess what I get every single day at my office? I had a friend once who did lemon law, and he put on his voicemail, if you are calling about a brand new car, leave a message. If you're calling about a used car, hang up now. I go, let me guess. None of them ever hung up. And he goes, nope. Anonymity says, it looks like Steve's classic Eddie Bauer men's resolution t-shirt. Yeah, this is an Eddie Bauer. Somebody asked earlier, and I apologize. And by the way, I think it's the video that went up today. I'm wearing a blank shirt on camera. Like, what? I was running around doing other stuff, and I set the video up, and I shot the video, and I stood up, and I'm like, something's wrong. And I looked, I forgot to change my shirt. Okay, what are you going to do? Oh, Jerry Dodge, I live in Michigan, but have an area code from Louisville. Oh, I've had people tell me, they'll say, hey, Steve, I'm calling you from Michigan, but I've got, ignore the phone number. But I've actually had people call me and say, I'm calling you from the U.S. Virgin Islands, and I've got a problem involving maritime law. I need your help. There's nothing in that sentence I can help you with. I mean, I've been to the Virgin Islands. That's it. Oh, boy. Tom Holt, I'm going to D.C. next week to place my dad's urn in Arlington. Also have a White House tour planned. Have a nice trip. Thank you for letting us know. If your father served in the military, he has my utmost respect. Thank you for the service. I'll thank you instead of him, in his stead. And enjoy your time there. Janice Ellery, people don't think anything applies to them. Pretty much. Tim Nossum, I can't believe people would call you. Lawyer's time is expensive. Oh, I get people who call me and actually assume that I'll help them for free also. And I don't mean to be so mercenary that I'm going to say, like, hey, I'm not going to talk to you for a while without charging you. I've never charged anybody for a phone call, okay? But people get mad when I go, I can't help you. I don't know anything at all about outer space law, okay? I'm not licensed to practice in outer space, and I'm not familiar with the law there. Well, let me ask you a question. Let's assume that I'm talking about something that's not in outer space. In what state? Ohio. Okay. Marian K. Cavusi says you can charge $250 an hour just for talking to you for half an hour call. I think it's Marjan, isn't it? And I haven't seen you in a while. Good to see you, my friend. I hate to tell you this, but on the occasions that I do get paid by the hour, it's the great Quidjabo. You should get one of them 900 numbers to weed out the riffraff. I know people who've talked about that. Going, I should just set up a 900 number, let people call and chew my ear off. And I'm like, Johnny Z, can I call you for help with my podcast? Oh, of course. Send me a note. Say, hey, I asked you for help on my podcast. I'd be happy to help you. Funny thing is, no one ever takes my advice. Brian Bloomer, I'm looking for a high-quality, usable, old pedestal mic similar to your tallest one. Any suggestions? My tallest one right there is a Shure. That one may or may not work. I've never plugged it in. You can find anything you want on eBay when it comes to microphones. Darkwood, I was hit by a falling satellite. Could have been a chunk of Skylab. Skylab? Marjan says most attorneys in Arizona and Kentucky charge, even for the first appointment, at least $500. I know attorneys who do that, but it depends on the field of law you're in. And so if you're in consumer protection and you have a statute that gets you paid, I would routinely tell people, you'll never pay me a penny. If we don't win, you don't pay me. And if we do win, they pay me. And so it works out. So it makes sense for me to talk to people for free if they've got a case. But if they've got another case in another state, Isaiah, JFA, when in federal court, doesn't matter what state you are in. Well, yes. I'm licensed in Michigan's courts, Eastern District and Western District. And federal courts apply state law, and they apply federal procedure pursuant to the Erie Doctrine. The Erie Doctrine. But I only handle lemon law cases in Michigan, so they aren't in federal court to begin with. Dan Boyd remembers Skylab. Padre, if no one takes your advice, how are you a successful lawyer? No one takes my advice on podcasts. I've had people call me up and say, Steve, I've got a YouTube channel. Can you look at it and tell me your advice? And I go, yeah, you should try this, 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 and this, and stop doing this, this, and this. Try to do this, 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 and this. And they go, oh, okay. And they just keep doing what they're doing. And I come back a year later and they've got 12 subscribers. I'm like, huh, okay. MH08, Devo Space Junk. Does Devo have a song called Space Junk? I only had one Devo album back in the day. Long-legged, does anybody know a good civil rights lawyer in Indiana? I need to get my couple million I deserve. See, and that's the thing. I get that kind of question all the time. And I know a couple attorneys. If you said, Steve, do you know an attorney who does education law in Alaska? And I'd say, yes, I do. I do. Do you know an attorney who does auto negligence cases in Los Angeles? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Okay. Do you know any of those kinds of people in Mississippi, Louisiana, Arkansas, Oklahoma, Idaho? No, I don't. And it's just the odds are I don't. And I'm really sorry. I wish I did, but I don't. And I've had people say, but Steve, how about this? Create a registry and let attorneys give you that information. And I go, how do I know they're any good? Oh, well, if I tell you to call somebody and they're bad, guess who gets blamed? So I can't do that either. Echo Tracks successfully shoveled his driveway without passing out. Yay me. Sadly, a lot of people every year shoveling snow and hunting in Michigan, the first weekend of deer hunting season, there are always a couple heart attacks. And it's because the guys get fired up. They haven't tramped around in the woods for a year. And they go out the first time and they overdo it. So mellow out. Tom Holtz, does Michigan have no fault? Yes, that's exactly what we've got. We have that in Florida, and it's terrible. Yes, and it's confusing too. And I've tried to explain to people this story that a couple of weeks ago I did about Geico, where they initially denied a claim, but then they granted the claim, so they paid the claim. And a lot of people were upset by that, but they actually never actually denied the claim. They simply said they were investigating it. And then there's a later story where Geico did deny a claim. And I was trying to explain to people why that was. It was a nuance of Michigan no-fault law. And people in Michigan understood it. People outside of Michigan are like, this is stupid. And I'm like, well, how can I tell you? It's no fault is stupid. So, yeah, Robert Lee says some people call it my fault. It is my fault insurance because you hit me and my insurance pays for it for the most part. Dan Boyd remembers heart attacks being a big deal in the 70s. Oh. John Michael Karma, last thing I sold off when moving from Michigan was a snowblower. Good riddance. You know what's funny is I grew up shoveling snow. And as an adult, I've had snowblowers. And I recently bought a big old 3-stage Cub Cadet. This thing throws snow into the next time zone. Snowblowers. And I recently bought a big old 3-stage Cub Cadet. This thing throws snow into the next time zone. It's nothing more fun than going out, but this much powder, cranking that thing, and just watching it launch. I mean, it's I gotta be careful. how far it throws the snow, throws it back time. So Peter Mandix is in Colorado. You can pick a personal injury attorney based on the size of their billboards outdoors. Bonus points, they're a doctor. Yeah, but the biggest concern I have is how much money they spend on marketing. And the question is, does that make them a good lawyer? I can tell you that the best auto negligence attorney there is, friend of mine, um, doesn't really advertise all that much. Doesn't have billboards up and down I-75. There's all kinds of attorneys who do, but I'll tell you right now that my friend and his firm quietly just home runs, huge cases, and great results. And one thing I can tell you about a lot of the billboard attorneys, a lot of them are hoping for quick settlements. They don't try cases, but that's another story altogether. Yeah, Fatty Butterpants, Snowblower Time Machine. That could be a movie. Especially if it's got the woman in it from Hot Tub Time Machine. Another story altogether. MHOA, I only hire attorneys off of bus benches. If they tell me they're an attorney, I hire them. Bus benches. Oh, boy. Lewis Browning, I use my leaf blower with a vacuum attachment to get rid of my powder. My brother used to burn his leaves, and to really get them going, he'd bring out a shop vac and blow air into it to turbocharge it. That's amazing. Joe Phillips, can you entertain us with a video of your snowblower in action? I actually thought about it the last time I was blowing, so I thought, I should bring one of the cameras out here, but I just didn't do it. Sometimes I listen to myself. There's an RV show in Kansas City this weekend. Yeah, RV shows and boat shows in wintertime are always fun. DePaul, have you heard from Johnny Knoxville? We miss him. It's been a little while. I'll send him a note and find out what he's been up to. Andy, New York, you live 10 feet from the next time zone. So what are you trying to say? I'm actually quite a hike from the next time zone. A lot of people don't realize that Michigan's in the eastern zone, but you got to go out of the state, well, Captain, Earth is that way. It's my favorite line from Star Trek. But yeah, no, Michigan is in the eastern zone, but I'm far enough from that border that I don't ever think of myself as being near the time zone. But I guess you're right. Tom Holt, how do we get insurance to pay out for a totaled car? The value in purchase versus the remaining value. Well, unfortunately, most insurance policies, if you read them, say what they're required to pay, and they'll say we have to pay you replacement value for the replacement value of the car right before it was totaled. So you buy a brand new car, drive it for 3 years, and it gets totaled. They say, how much does a 3-year-old car cost? Identical to the one you had before it was totaled. I've had clients before, I've mentioned this one before. A client of mine had a triple black convertible Mustang GT, and he had it for 1 week, and he got T-boned at an intersection. Hey, T-bone! And bent the car in half. And they offered him basically the price of a used Mustang GT with low mileage. And I spoke to the adjuster on the case, and the guy goes, pick a source. I don't care which one. And you could find low mileage Mustang GTs for what they're offering my guy. I'm like, oh, okay. So, but that's what it says, like right in your policy. Anonymity says, if you want t-shirts like Steve, there are big discounts on the Eddie Bauer site right now. Amazingly, these are donated to me by viewers. I've got so many Eddie Bauer shirts. Oh. Mary M., also known as Lucy Girl, do you wear the proper protection gear with the snow blower? Asking for Karen. I don't wear hearing protection, but that's also because my snowboard's not that loud. But I wear gloves and I usually mask up. And the thing is, the business end of the snowblower is up there. It's really, really hard. I mean, don't get me wrong, you could if you wanted to, but it's really hard to get accidentally hurt with a snowblower unless you're a real numbskull. So, Mindbend, I have a home in Michigan and visit in Iowa. It's a 10-hour drive. It's a bit of a trip to even get to the time zone and time zone change area. Huh. Janice Ellery, Blue Book value. Well, that's often the term that people use, but if you use that term around experts, they go, "Oh, actually, there are blue books and there are black books and there are green books." You know what we're talking about, right? But the other problem you have is that there are value guides. They go off of auction values, and they also go off of condition. And where most used car dealers will get you is they will fudge on the value of the car you're trading in by saying, "Oh, this is in rough shape." And they'll wash it and wax and go, "Hey, this thing's in perfect condition." And then when they're selling you a used car and you go, "This thing's in rough shape," they go, "What are you talking about? This thing's in perfect condition." It'd be just fun to watch them see what they said to the person who traded it in versus what they're telling you now and realize that they're diametrically opposed. Evernight, do you ever watch other lawyer channels? I try not to. I know it sounds silly. I try not to, only because I'm always concerned that if I watch somebody who's doing kind of what I'm doing, that it might somehow influence me. So I do not watch other lawyer channels. Once in a great while. I'm familiar with a lot of them, but I don't watch them as a matter of habit. Dan Ritter, what's in the safe? Yeah. I talked about that last week. That's a toy safe I bought at an antique show or a outdoor flea market last summer. And there's nothing in it. Literally nothing in it. I had one as a kid too. So, Paul 896. Do you wear earplugs at all the concerts you go to? I bring them, and I've got some of these. They're not earplugs in the sense they don't just perfectly plug your ears like this because that'd be annoying. But they're designed to quiet the sound. Depends on where I'm seated, how close to front I am. So, when I was the front row for Blue October, probably was wearing them. But on the other hand, at the back of the pavilion for Billy Idol, probably was not. So, Daniel Kester, doesn't your snowblower have warnings on it? Oh, yes, but nothing compared to my wood chipper. My wood chipper is designed and constructed out of warning stickers. It has load-bearing structural warning stickers all over it. Do not stick your head in this chute. Do not stick your arm in this chute. Do not stick your arm in this chute. Do not open this up while running. Do not run in an enclosed blah, 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 blah. It's literally, I think it's red, but it's covered with yellow stickers. It's primarily yellow. So, Darkwood, don't wear loose scarves around snowblowers, especially not one that'll reach the front. Yeah, Tom Holt, it seems the value of a car is that it reliably gets me to work, store, school, or church. That's the value. And the knowledge that it runs. Because if I show you two identical cars on a used car lot, and I go, you don't get to test drive them. Which one do you want? Flip a coin. Oh, one's got a blown engine, one doesn't. Okay. And so, like I mentioned that I used to have an '02 Ford Explorer, and I gave it to my brother. My brother has it now. And when I gave it to him, it had 160,000 miles on it, but I had maintained that thing perfectly. That thing is perfect. And my brother's had it now for 6 months, maybe 5 months. He loves it. And it's like, the thing runs great. It runs like a Swiss watch, and it's going to continue doing it because I took such good care of it for how long I had it. And I assure you, go to a used car lot today and find an '02 Ford Explorer with 160,000 miles on it. And there's a good chance there's all kinds of crazy stuff wrong with it. And are they worth the same? No. In the blue book, are they? Yeah. And the blue book says they're the same. Dark wood. I need a good wood chipper. Oh, they're so much fun. Edmund Bradley says those stickers are there to protect the company from liability. That's what I do. You do the liability or do you do the stickers? I agree and I understand that. It's just funny that and don't get me wrong, it's an old joke. You know, you buy like a ladder and they're like, do not use this to hold the door open of a burning house or something, you know? And you often look at the warnings, go, do they really need to warn me of that specific thing? But yeah, you go into court and somebody goes, I was using a wood chipper and I got a jam in there. So I stuck my arm in there and it was stuck. So I thought I'd cycle the engine a couple times to break it loose while my arm was in there. So you have a sticker that says, "Do not put your arm in this slot. Do not." No, no, no. And so obviously when you're talking to the judge at your, you know, summary judgment motion, you go, "There's a warning sticker that says don't do what this guy's doing." You know, I understand that. So east wind, do not push wood into the chipper with your feet and legs. Derek Rounds, how much wood can a wood chipper chip? A wood chipper could chip wood. And what would happen if we put a woodchuck in a wood chipper? how much woodchuck and a wood chipper chip of woodchuck chip? Yeah, do not drink contents of battery. Although that's a Jay Leno joke that Dan Boyd just cited there. And I really wonder. I don't know if I've ever actually seen that warning, but S Hex Densmore. How much snow got outside? I'm guessing. Well, it's snowing right now. I guess you can't see out that window, but it's snowing right now. But I'm guessing it's probably 3-4 inches on the ground. Oh, the pictograms. Tim Nossum, the salt spreader on my trucks have hilarious danger pictograms. You know, like they have at the airport. It's like a yellow thing they put in the ground. It's got a picture of a person doing this, like because it's slippery. Because that's always the argument. I remember reading a case in law school where somebody had sued a pharmaceutical company because they claimed they'd been injured by using a product which had warnings on it, and the warnings were in English. And the product was being marketed in a non-English speaking community. And that was their argument. There was warnings there, but I couldn't read them. Oh, boy. Jerry Dodge in Kalamazoo's got 12 to 15 inches of snow. Wow. Steve G, I knew a guy named Chuck Wood. Really? There was the quarterback for the Detroit Lions named Chuck Long, which is funny for a quarterback. Chuck Long. Mark Doherty's checking in from beneath the snows of Snowmageddon. Carl's Corner, why do news crews stay out in the snow but warn us to stay inside? Well, because they're out having fun, but they don't want us to have fun. What I always like is when the Weather Channel sends a crew someplace and the Weather Channel shows up and all the locals are like, uh-oh, we're in trouble now. Because, you know, when there's like a hurricane going to hit Florida and they do actually have guys in the ground there who are like hanging onto a tree and their body's blowing sideways, you know, you wonder if that's coming. Echo Track says Chuck Long was from Iowa. He was average. He had a couple good games. He was a Detroit Lion. He can't be that good historically. Yeah, Steve Kelleher, Chuck Long, Iowa Hawkeye. Go deep and Chuck Long. Isaac Bob York's been snowing all day here in Sweden. Well, that's to be expected, isn't it? Yeah, 858 Bill. Never forget the NASCAR driver in the 80s named Dick Trickle. That was a very unfortunate, I think, name, but he apparently enjoyed it. So what are you going to do? Robert Lee points out that the Sioux locks are closed. And somebody mentioned earlier that there's a live stream from the Sioux locks. The Sioux locks, of course, are the locks that allow you to bring a large boat from Lake Superior down through the St. Mary's to the tip of Lake Huron. It's a very large drop. I think it's like, I don't know, 15, 20 feet or something. And so the locks are there to allow those big boats like, the Leon Falk Jr. or the Edmund Fitzgerald through. And they close them in the wintertime for maintenance. And right now they are closed, I believe, for maintenance. I think they've been that way for a couple weeks. Janie Seagrass has actually met Dick Trickle. Lewis Browning now says there's also a stream from Port Huron, Michigan, which if you came through the Sioux Locks and headed south, you'd eventually get to if you went straight south, more or less. John Michael Karma was in Atlanta a couple years ago. 2 inches of snow completely shut the place down. Being from Michigan, I was flying around like it was nothing. Yeah, and like always, you can drive as well as you want to. It's the idiots around you. So you got to be careful, even if you can handle it. 277 Mitchell says, I've been watching you for 4 years now. I wanted to thank you for all the laughs. I prefer the 1971 Mach 1 Ford Mustang or a 1973 to 77 Chevrolet Monte Carlo. Okay. Those are admirable choices. I personally like the Mustangs from a year or two earlier. I love the Shelby Mustangs, especially a nice like convertible 67 or something maybe. And Chevy had a bunch of nice cars too. So there you go. Nailhead 59, the Tregurtha, the Paul Tregurtha, which I believe is the biggest ship on the Great Lakes right now. But it's an amazing, amazing piece of technology. Overkill Pinball, I actually met Steve Lehto online. Oh, Marjan. Also, what do you think about insurance companies leaving states like California and Florida? It's an interesting question because, there were times when some of the insurance companies were refusing to pay claims, like, for instance, during hurricanes. And the state said, if you don't pay these claims, we're going to kick you out altogether. And so they said, fine. And they did that. But what happens if an insurance company just says, we're out of here? And the weird part is that presumably, if there's enough people in a pool that need to be insured, there's got to be some way to calculate it out to where you can make money doing it. But it's like three-dimensional chess. It's more a matter of whether you can make the conditions inviting people to come in. Old paint said when moose bites can be pretty nasty. A moose once bit my sister. I said that once during a video, or maybe I put it at the end, and somebody goes, "Oh my gosh, didn't know you had a sister." Tim Nossum, the lock picking lawyer, should go through the Sioux locks. Nothing on 1. Click on 3. 4 is binding. Hang on, we'll go back to 1 now. Okay, I do watch the lock picking lawyer a lot, but he's not doing law stuff. So somebody asked earlier if I watch any videos by any other lawyers. I watch the lock picking lawyer all the time. I love him. Absolutely. Inspector Ratchet, you are awesome. You make us want to move to Michigan just so you can be our lawyer on retainer. Sincerely. Thank you. American Tours, I tried to get a couple pictures of the Edward Ryerson for you. If I can get a better picture, I could try to get you one. Okay. Yeah, I know that the Ryerson is still laid up right in Duluth. And I've seen photographs of it. Like I drove by with Google Street View and looked at it. But that's a ship that my uncle served on briefly a long time ago. 858 Bill says at 1013, 1,013 and a half feet, Interlakes flagship MV Paul Archer Gertha is the longest ship on the Great Lakes right now. Mark Miller, am I wrong in thinking insurance should be nonprofit? Well, I mean, if somebody wanted to create a nonprofit insurance company, they could do it as some form of co-op. The question is whether they can actually get it working or not. But insurance, like any other industry, is competitive, and theoretically, the marketplace should make some of these things even out. But Joe Phillips 519, how did your sister get bitten by a moose? You'd have to watch Monty Python's Holy Grail complete credits to understand the entire story. Greg Rice, are there any ethics issues about lockpick lawyers' videos? No, zero. Because he's not encouraging anybody to do anything wrong. And if anything, he's encouraging lock companies to make better locks. When he shows you how easy it is to get into a lock, he's not saying, by the way, you should go out and steal something. I think he's doing a service. Steve, where'd you go? There we go. 9674. Patrick Boyle bends my mind. Speaking of YouTube, I love Patrick Boyle. I always forget to mention him. Patrick Boyle is an economist from London who is, at first glance, the driest, most boring person talking about economics. And then as you listen to him, you realize he's cracking jokes. He's making he's hilarious, but he does it. It's almost like a character. It is so brilliant. And he'll mention somebody put up a picture and it's the wrong picture, but it's usually commentary. Oh, boy. Darkwood, my insurance company went bankrupt a few years ago and still owed me $30,000. Wow. Yeah, theoretically, companies are supposed to meet certain standards to operate in any given state, but you always hear crazy stories. Yeah, Chief FC says the sister was just carving her name into the moose when it bit her. Robert Lee says the Ryerson was one of the most beautiful ships of her era. And that's what they said. At the time, no question, it was a pleasure to serve aboard that ship. Shex Denmore, how can puffery be legally allowed in advertising? Strangely, puffery is described in the Uniform Commercial Code, and it's in the section on Article 2 about warranties and sales. And it says specifically that statements that are objective in nature can become warranties. And then it has a comment where it says puffery, which are opinions about the quality of the goods being made, which are clearly subjective in nature, are not warranties. This is a great car. It's a wonderful car. It's a pretty car, whatever. But the second they say, oh, it's a one owner car, well, you can count, right? One owner. Okay. And I use that example, and I've had people go, Steve, a one owner car is not a warranty. Yes, it is. It's an objectively measurable statement about the car. It had one owner prior to being sold to my client. It would be the second owner. And I had a case where I had a trial. I had a judge agree with me on that, and I had a jury agree with me on that because I had the title history that showed my client was like the ninth owner. They said one owner. So Nailhead, my uncle worked on river barges. That's cool. Greg Rice, thanks for the response. I gotta go. Important work watching snow in Holyoke. That's important work. Oh boy. Jake Lyon from Tomahawk, Wisconsin. My 1999 Dodge Dakota won't start in sub-zero temperatures, so I'm putting hot coals from the fire under the oil pan to warm it. You think that'll do it? Let me know. Because I know that I read stories from World War II about people flying airplanes on the Eastern Front between Germany and Russia and trouble they went through to get their planes to start. And, you think it's hard to start your car in a garage when it's 10 degrees out? No, 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 no. Go out to the steppe and try it in the wintertime. Houston, Texas. Dave, what are some of your favorite foods in Detroit, Michigan? I absolutely love Buddy's Pizza. I've talked about that before. Buddy's Pizza is a pizza place in southeastern Michigan. They now have a lot of locations. They started in Detroit. They're fantastic, fantastic pizzas. The cheese, there's something about the cheese they use. It's different. And then I also like, there's a place called Olga's Kitchen where they sell gyros and salads and things like that. But their gyros are really good. Has to do with sauce they put on the gyros. But beyond that, I mean, those are the two that pop into my head. Oh, Belio, Lehto's pasties. Well, we talked about them last week. James Thompson, I've seen it in videos from starting cars in Siberia. That'd be another place very similar to the Eastern Front. So, Shex Denmore, I've seen people use a torch to warm up diesel tanks in Alaska. Oh God, I understand. I completely get it, but boy, that just gives me the shivers thinking about it. Jerry Dodge, they have a Buddy's Pizza in Kalamazoo. Yeah, they've spread out quite a bit, but I've always enjoyed Buddy's Pizza. Andrew Gruchowski, lamb, pork, or both. These would be lamb in the gyros. Jerry Dodge has an Olga's Kitchen in Kalamazoo as well. Okay. I believe the original Olga's Kitchen was in Birmingham, Michigan on Old Woodward Avenue, just south of 15 Mile Road. But I remember in California, hanging out with my brother. He goes, "Want Olga's?" And I'm like, "From Birmingham?" And he goes, "No, they got one here." And Olga's had franchised out. I don't think the franchise has made it, but they've got a few of them. I know there's one in Southfield also. Ember Miss 69, how's the weather for everyone else? I got 15 degrees. I got snow falling steadily. Steve G's Buddy's Pizza thin crust. I don't know if they make thin crust. I like their deep dish. They make a deep dish I really like. Max's model says, I just saw your video on the Tennessee Highway Patrol's bad, good arrest, DUI arrest. What a mockery of the law. Here's the thing. I wish people could step back a little bit and ask themselves, if I say this, what's going to look like? The guy who's in charge of the Tennessee Highway Patrol goes, it's been in the news that there have been thousands of people arrested who are sober, but we arrested them for drunk driving. We've examined those arrests, and every single one was good. Every single one. I'm paraphrasing, but that's what he said. Mathematically, impossible. Okay? He could say the vast majority of them are good, most of them are good, or we have an explanation as to why they weren't. But you can't say every single one was good. That's like being a dictator of a country and going, yeah, I shot around a golf the other day, 18. How many holes? 18. Oh, really? Sure you did. Okay. So Max's model's a bureaucrat, has to bureaucrat, I guess. Yeah, but it's when I read stuff like that, I'm just like, can't, because you understand that the second you one of my favorite writers is Hunter S. Thompson. Okay. Hunter S. Thompson's passed away now. And he wrote some very, very angry political stuff late in his life. And I forgot who he was talking about, but he had a chapter in one of his books entitled "Why Do They Lie to Us?" Why do they lie to us? And I thought it was profound because quite often when somebody's lying to you, most people go, "But that's a lie." But you should step back and go, "But why are they lying to us? Why?" And so when the guy gets up there and goes, "We've checked them all, and they were all righteous," as I said earlier. Everyone, literally. And you go, why can't this guy admit that a couple of them had to be bad mathematically? And you realize, okay, he's just saying stuff to say stuff. Why don't the people on the panel who are questioning him dig into that and go, really? Every single one? Were they all convicted? No. Oh, so who's dropping the ball here? Would it be would it be the judges and the juries and the courts and the prosecutors who are letting thousands of drunk drivers off scot free because they're what? And somebody needs to actually start poking at that. But there you go. Andrew Kruchowski, we miss you, Hunter. Yes. Yeah, and he had a lot of people on his naughty list. McGovern, Nixon. Oh boy. Stuff writer Hunter S. Thompson's obituary of Nixon was spectacular. I believe he called him somebody who had all of the morals of a weasel on speed. All of the morals of a weasel on speed. Oh boy. Padre, Broncos or Patriots, Rams or Seahawks. I'm sorry, I'm not a big NFL guy. I barely root for the Lions, and that's even when they're playing well, which is not that often. Oh, Austin P. Foster says the Red Wings won last night. Yeah, the Red Wings are actually coming along quietly and doing quite well. And I believe the Pistons are doing well also. And so is the University of Michigan basketball team. Oh, boy. Gordrath, thank you again for the signed book. I printed out the picture I promised you, but my dog kind of tore it apart. I apologize. Yeah, the dog ate your homework. I need to get more picture paper for my printer. Okay, not a problem. I still actually have some books, as I recall, right there. Look at that. Turban Car books and some American Murder House books. But I think you guys all know that. Yeah, Richard Thomas says the refs cheated from Miami. I know there's a lot of complaints about the refereeing, although I saw some plays and a couple of them looked real sketchy in terms of they were just tough calls. And that's the one thing that all the modern technology does is they allow you to see things the referees couldn't see. But instant replay should fix that. And unfortunately, it doesn't. So I've seen some bad calls despite instant replay, despite all that. But you hate to see a game decided by calls. The referees shouldn't be the ones, doing that. So Gordrath says he's serious about the dog eating his homework. It's just too easy. I'm sorry. Malibu. Wait, that's not a wall. It's a web of lies. I've told the story many times. That wall is a perfect replica of the wall from the studio I had a few years ago. And when I moved, I'm like, I like that wall. So I had a friend of mine recreate the wall. It is a perfect replica, almost perfect. It has a couple minor issues, but nobody would have spotted if I hadn't narked myself out. So, but yes, it's a web of lies. I've turned this into a house of lies. Oh. Doug Jones, when will AI replace referees? I'm waiting for them to replace the strike zone. The baseball strike zone. They've got the technology right now to where they could just say, here's the strike zone. If the ball hits any portion of that strike zone, boom, you get a strike. Outside that, it's a ball. They've got the technology. They've had it for years. But there are other calls, and the game is complicated enough. They're going to always need referees or umpires or referees, depending on the sport. But balls and strikes, they should. Angel Hernandez. If Angel Hernandez taught us nothing, it's that they should have balls and strikes called by machines. Yeah, and Neminem. That's you're just ahead of me. Oh, Gordon Rath is leaving in 3 weeks to join the Navy. Wow. Congratulations. And thank you for your service. Darkwood, what's behind the wall? A sloped wall, which was really bad with lights and acoustics. Casey Jimmy, notice several edged weapons in your background. What's the story? Well, among other things, I've got a Morakniv, which is how you say that in Swedish. That is extremely sharp. I use it as a letter opener. I've also got a Civil War cavalry saber there, and another one over there. It's one on each side. Those are just swords that I own. I think they're cool. They're both stamped 1865 US, so they're from the proper time frame. And then on the top shelf is a World War I officer's dress sword from the Navy, and it's inscribed with the guy's name. And a viewer lent that to me and said, we'd be honored if you put this on the set. And so there it is. So there's technically 3 sabers or swords on the set. But thank you. Mexican specs is human error has always been part of baseball. It makes it more interesting. I disagree. There have been some bad calls, like the perfect game that the guy had in Detroit that got blown on the last call. And everybody knew he blew it. And baseball's got this wacky thing. Like once we make a bad call, you're stuck with it. Before they had recall, replay. And I kind of like it in football where they can throw a flag and they can get together and go, you know something, pick the flag up. But baseball's always had that weird, no, we stand by our bad calls. And there have been some bad ones. So the Lionel Hutz action figure, it's back there somewhere, but it might be, I'm not sure. It's back there. On the wall is a Homer Simpson action figure. So Max's models, a friend of mine has built several Johan kit models of the Chrysler Turbine car. He also got to ride in one as a kid. Do you build models? I don't build them, but I have them. I've actually got a die-casted turbine car. I've got the smaller one that Chrysler gave out with the box. And then I've got a couple Hot Wheels of it. I've even got a Johan still in the box, but not assembled. So I'm very familiar with them. And I've also driven 3 turbine cars. So Ember Mist, dang, you're 40. I'm thinking it's time to buy a snowblower. I can use a shovel and have many times, but I think it's time just maybe it will snow again to boot. Yes, it's Ohio. Yeah, it will. It will. Mark Miller, does the sloped wall area serve as a storage bin? Sort of. I got a bunch of bankers boxes back there filled with stuff. Oh, Richard Thomas, you must get a slot car set. When I was in elementary school, there was a hobby shop on Woodward Avenue called Tiny Tim's. And Tiny Tim's had 4 permanent slot car tracks. And you could go there and rent time by the hour. And they'd rent you a controller, or you could bring your own. You could bring your own car, or they'd rent you a car. And you could sit there for an hour and I would do that for hours and hours and hours. DePaul, don't you also have some finished carving knives? Yes, I do. They're on the other side of the set, though. But I've got 3 Rapala carving knives, or probably fillet knives. Max's models, you see any future for turbine car technology? I think they'd make a great hybrid where you put a turbine engine in a car that just does nothing but run a generator. And they have the technology. They've done it before. But it's just, they go, yeah, it's so expensive. Why not just grab a small gas engine and stick it in there and do the same thing? Darkwood, boy, we are a nosy bunch. But you got to understand that you guys watch my videos and you learn a little bit about me by watching videos, right? So people know that, like, I got brothers, what kind of cars I've had, what kind of cars I might have now, that I'm a lawyer, what kind of cases I've had, things like that. But there's a lot of stuff you don't know. And I completely understand people who are going, gee, I wonder about this. I wonder about that. So I have no problem with it. If I see a question I think is inappropriate, I'll just skip it. I'm not saying I'm encouraging those kind of questions, because it's a waste of space, but Lewis Browning, there is a turbine motorcycle 2025 MTT for $275,000. Yeah, you can buy one, turbine powered motorcycle by MTT Technologies, or Marine Turbine Technology. And my friend Mark Lieberman's a dealer for them. You can buy one brand new from a dealer, and they're crazy. It's just, that thing shouldn't come with a warranty. It should come with a suicide note. It really should. Several people asked about Sizzlers. I remember them in California. I remember Sizzlers being around any place I lived in Michigan. Oh, Max's model slot cars taught me about physics. Yeah, the trick was to get the car as fast as it could go, just enough to where it got a tiny little bit of slip in the corners, but not enough to pull the contacts out of the slot. And I remember one of the tracks they had a long straightaway and then a banked curve. And if you were at the wrong part of the curve and you lost it, you hit the wall. There's a wall right there. And you're just launch. Alexander Ganaka, how long did I miss? Well, we've been here for an hour and 43 minutes. We had a false start for about 1 minute and 4 seconds. Richard Thomas, you would like the new electric chainsaws. I'm not sure about that. I've got a couple of the good old 2-strokers from Steel, and I like them a lot. The great Quidjabo, I want to know about Steve's dark past. One thing I can tell you is, to become a lawyer in Michigan and in many states, they do a background check on you. And so most attorneys don't really have that dark of a past, unless you're talking about other kinds of things. Max's models, did you have to travel to Georgia to do your VinWiki videos? Yes. Those were shot in Georgia at the studios of VinWiki. Oh, boy. Tom Holt, seems like turbine engines in a car be more novelty than reliability or cost. No, but see, if you got a small turbine engine, like say about this big, and it ran at a constant speed running a generator, it could be quite reliable and cost effective. Mary M. Lucy Girl, original pancake house in Birmingham is a favorite. I've eaten there like 3 times my entire life, and I grew up in Birmingham. And it's just one of those places that I just never got on my radar. I don't know. I know it's packed on the weekends, just insanely packed, but I'm very familiar. I've driven by it a million times. Tyler Pasquale says, "Hi, Steve. Can you explain the lending for the set process? I have a small golf ball sized jar of sand from Iwo Jima for my time in the Marines. I'd love to send and lend it to the set if you'd have it." Ironically, I don't know if you know this or not, but I have right here. Boy, it's hard to do backwards. Right here, I added a couple days ago a jar of sand from Normandy that someone else got me. I've been to Normandy. I just didn't take anything with me when I was there. And somebody who went to Normandy said, "I got a little jar of sand from Normandy. Um, Email me, and I'd be happy to do that." Um, just email me, remind me of this conversation, and say we had it. And by that I mean, if you get it to me and say I'm lending this to you, I will want it back. We'll work that out, and you can lend it to me. I'll put it on the set, and then if it ever comes off the set, I'll send it back. Or if you want it back, I'll send it back. Absolutely, I'd be honored. I'm fascinated by those kinds of things. Alexander Ganakis says Chicago is the home of the original pancake house. It's like the original Ray's Pizza or Ray's Original Pizza. There are so many places called the Pancake House or the original Pancake House that I suspect that somebody forgot to copyright it or patent it or trademark it when they should have. Johnny Z says the original Pancake House is a chain, but I think there's a couple variants on it. Tom Holt, most, if not all, commercial jets have a small turbine engine APU, auxiliary power unit, that can run to provide electric, hydraulic, and pneumatic power. Yes, and they also have made, like Williams International, which makes jet engines, uh, made a small thing about this big that was a turbine engine with a generator designed to go into the General Motors EV1 that would allow it to have an extended range by carrying some fuel. And they built one, it worked, but they said, and they scrapped the program. So LW, or is it IW? Hey, just a reminder, we had a conversation that you were going to give me $100. For what purpose? Darkwood 777 was in the pits with Andy Granatelli's turbine-powered car at Indy. And there were turbine cars 2 years at Indy, which were amazing things, but they had other technical issues. Scott Summers, have you bought something from someone? Yeah, a lot of the stuff up there's mine. Like about half the microphones I bought. The most of the books I bought. The 2 Civil War sabers are mine. That kind of thing. Oh yeah, somebody. Yeah. By the way, it's the purplish pinkish. Chrysler put this color on Barracudas in 1971. Robert Torres got the flu, which is why he's being so quiet. Oh, that's rough. Been a while since I had the flu. Dan Boyd, I wonder if anyone makes tiny turbine engines. Well, they do make rather small ones. I mean, you can find them for like radio controlled aircraft that are like this big. Absolutely. Yeah, Dan Boyd, plum crazy. Oil paint, yeah, the small jets, the turbines, RC jets for $3,500. Mexican spec, your shirt clashes with the cup. Harry Seldon, if you'd gotten the Edmund Fitzgerald life ring, you could have made that a part of the set. I wouldn't have. And I know what you're saying, but I appreciate that. But I wouldn't have, simply because I personally think that the life ring still is holy is not the correct word, but so important and so deeply meaningful. And a lot of the stuff behind me is lighthearted, you know. A lot of it is. Not all of it, but a lot of it is. Max's models, that shirt clashes with everything. I generally don't like wearing shirts this bright on camera because it often does screw up the settings. Jelly Skelly, 1244. What are your immediate thoughts about the next generation of lawyers? Well, I'm waiting for a crop of them to get out of remote learning law school to see how they perform in court. You have to understand, in your first year of law school, you're going to walk into a class on day one. There might be a couple hundred people in the room. Professor looks down at a sheet of paper and says, Bob Johnson. And some poor fool raises his hand. And the professor might say, stand up. Bob Johnson stands up. Did you read the case of Smith versus Jones? Yes, I did. Briefly, give me the facts of the case. And then just start firing questions at you. And I've seen the smartest people scrambling. And you might go, but Steve, that doesn't sound like fun. And trust me, you learn it. You learn it really well if you understand that that's how well you have to know it. And doing this via Zoom, stand up. Oh, okay. It's not going to be the same. Max's models. What's the weirdest factory color ever put in a muscle car? Oh, Chrysler just did a whole bunch of wacky ones with primarily Plymouth and Dodge, but they put purple and orange and bright yellow and bright green. They looked cool, but they were odd. They were odd. Harry Seldon, you're in a t-shirt to show us how well your heating is working. Where'd it go? I got a thermometer. It's normally right here. It's 74 right here. So Darkwood, I would cry. I saw people. I saw people who were reduced, not to tears in my class, but I heard stories. I actually heard of people who almost had nervous breakdowns and quit because they couldn't handle it. And guess what? When you go into court and you're in front of the wrong judge, you're going to be glad you had that happen to you in law school. Tim Nossum, where'd you get the blasting caps tin on the set? I bought that at Copper World, which is a really cool gift shop store in Calumet, Michigan, where they sell all kinds of really cool stuff, including stuff left over from the copper mining industry. And I saw that tin, and I'm like, I remember blasting caps. They used to run public service announcements on TV telling kids not to play with them. And so I thought, it'd be pretty cool to have a tin. There's nothing in the tin, but a tin of those on my set. Stuff writer, can you be a lawyer if you're shy? Law school might be difficult, but once you get out, get yourself into a field of law where you don't have to deal with people. You might be able to work in a firm drafting contracts or doing research or writing briefs or something. But, John Michael Karma, Bob Johnson left the room in tears. A friend of mine who went to one of the best law schools in the nation said that he got through his first semester of law school and he was in his first round of final exams. Day one, the first class, first test, they walk in, proctor comes by and hands out all the tests and goes, okay, don't turn anything over till I say start. hands out the blue books, and says, "You may begin." And he writes the time on the chalkboard. And my friend said that there's a woman sitting next to him, and she doesn't move. And he realizes she's not moving, but he's got a test to do. So he's scribbling out answers to questions. And he says that she very quietly reaches over, picks up her purse, and walks out of the room. Never saw her again. Just snapped. Who knows? By the book, did you ever go to NCDC? I don't know what that means. Richard Thomas, ever have a chemistry kit? Everybody did. And you mixed chemicals indiscriminately because that's the one thing they said, never do this. Oh. Darkwood, I remember those commercials about the blasting caps. You also had engineers come to the school and warn us about blasting caps and railroad flares. I can tell you right now that when I was driving a tow truck, I would see police officers light the railroad flares, toss them in the street, and then once I hook a car up, they just leave. And they'd leave the railroad flares with the spike right in the street. And I remember thinking to myself, you're just going to give people flat tires. And I remember one day getting a phone call, and it was a police station. They go, "Can you come up here and change a flat tire for a cop car?" And I'm like, "Really? You guys don't do that?" And it was after, I don't know what the excuse was. So I go up there, and I'm jacking the car up, and I pull the wheel off. It's got a tire, one of those railroad flares right in the tire. Oh, boy. Casey, Jimmy, cease and desist letters seem to be a cottage industry. They're meaningless if you're not willing to step in and do something if someone refuses to cease and or desist. But you never know. Buy the book, National Criminal Defense College. No, never been there. I don't do a lot of criminal defense. I used to do all kinds of stuff, but I've never actually gone there. MHOA, the Suburbs, did a song called Chemistry Set. Of course they did. I love the Suburbs. One of the greatest bands that most people never heard of. And it's sad because they were one of these bands that just never got a break. And they had the album, maybe it's called The Suburbs, but it was the album they had with a major label. And a lot of their big fans didn't like it because they're like, it was so commercial. But it should have gotten airplay, and it didn't. So if you go on YouTube now, you can find The Suburbs. Look for the song Never Stop to Say Goodbye. It's kind of long, but it's a good song. Harry Seldon, what's a car you haven't driven but really want to? It's kind of funny because I got to drive Bobby Isaac's Daytona. I got to drive 3 different turbine cars. Um, I would like to drive Richard Petty's Superbird. I've ridden in it, but I didn't get to drive it. But I'm it's hard to say. It might be fun to drive a supercar like a Murcielago or something, but yeah, I don't lay awake at night worrying about it. Bob blah blah says it looks like the storm has passed. It ended, and so did the show. Have a good day. I still got snow coming down. John Michael Karma. I mixed up some Love Potion number 9, the chemistry set. That stuff is wild, that Love Potion number 9. Padre, does anyone know the formula for Funky Cold Medina? Oh my God. That music. Tone Loc. How that got on the radio, I have no idea. That and Wild Thing. Crazy stuff. Johnny Z. Fradley. I drove Jason Bonham's Raptor. Cool. Stuff writer, would the first step in becoming a lawyer be taking the LSAT if you have an undergrad? Yes. So you have to get an undergraduate degree, then you take the LSAT, and then you apply to schools and they ask to see your transcripts and your LSAT scores. And so ideally, you want those both to be as high as possible. So, assuming you care where you go. I know some people live out in the middle of nowhere, but they live close enough to one law school and they're like, well, I'll go there. It's the only one around. So that might not matter. Richard Thomas, the guy in the yellow T-Bird, hit 250 trying to jump some river. Are you talking about Ken, the daredevil who used to jump cars? He's going to jump the St. Lawrence Seaway with a car. There's a great documentary about that guy. It's called like the Devil at My Heels, something like that. No, I don't. I don't think it's Ken. There's a guy who jumped. He instead of jumping cars with a motorcycle, he jumped cars with a car back in the 70s. And Mike Lackner says, Steve, for the love of all that is holy, make people stop putting ugly modern rims and skinny tires on classic Mopar. I saw so many cars with bad wheels crossing the block last night at Barrett Jackson. Split window Corvette, completely restored, but it's got wacky wheels on it. I'm like, what? The wheels are too big and they got like low profile. I'm like, that looks so bad. Oh. Richard Thomas, the ramp he built was incredible. But the plan was he's going to jump the car over the St. Lawrence Seaway. How is he going to land? Anyway, that's going to wrap it up for me. I've been here for over 2 hours despite the wacky fall start. I'll see you guys this week. I got to go out and blow some snow. Enjoy yourself. Bye-bye.